We continue our team coverage now with News 19's Clark Foraker, who has also been investigating. Clark, you were at that press conference this afternoon. What did you learn?
Well, let's start with our exclusive interview this morning, where we actually got a head start on the press conference with SLED Chief Mark Skeel and the Secret Service. We found out, of course, the big question: when did all this happen? Also in the meeting this morning, the director of the Department of Revenue, the Inspector General, and a representative of the security cyber firm hired by the state to fix this hacking problem. We had a chance to get a lot of information about the investigation, where it is today, but the big question: how long has this been going on? We know the first breach of the systems at the Department of Revenue was back on August 27th. We also know that the hacker penetrated servers at the DOR 2 more times in September. Then September 13th, the hacker extracted information from the server. Again, that's the 3.6 million social security numbers and more than 380,000 credit and debit card numbers. These are credit and debit cards that were used to pay taxes to the Department of Revenue. Now, almost a month later, October 10th, the governor was informed of this breach. 10 days after that, October 20th, the hole was closed and the system secured to the best of the state's knowledge.
South Carolina has come under attack by an international hacker. In that South Carolina Department of Revenue and SLED were notified that a server that warehouses all of our taxpayer information was breached and taxpayer information was stolen. In the last 2 weeks, the state and federal law enforcement, along with the Department of Revenue, have come together and have done everything they need to make sure that those holes have been plugged and that we no longer have any holes that we are aware of at this point. The access point used to access the information, while we now have it protected, we want to make sure that everybody understands that our state will respond with a big, large-scale plan.
Next week, letters are expected to go out notifying taxpayers whose bank accounts may be at risk because of the security breach at the State Revenue Department.
A judge is now allowing revenue officials to notify banks and credit unions of the 3.3 million bank account numbers compromised when someone hacked the department tax files. The governor's office worked with the banks to get that information released.
Tonight, one Midlands woman has come forward claiming to have had her identity stolen as a result of the breach. News
19's Nate Stewart sat down with a woman who says her Social Security checks had been rerouted to a different bank account. Is that right?
Yeah, JR, 66-year-old Helen Roach receives one retirement check from the government to live off of, but after receiving a letter that her direct deposit information had changed, she became suspicious.
For this to have happened, I just don't understand it. I just can't understand it for the life of me.
You can imagine the surprise on Helen Roach's face when she opened this letter confirming her retirement checks had been rerouted to another bank account.
It usually takes us 1 to 2 months to change where we send payments.
Roach called over to the Social Security Administration, who confirmed her fears. Someone had used her personal information.
Here I am expecting my monthly check, and it's going into somebody else's bank account. Now I'm having to wait for mine.
Having filed her taxes online, Roach believes her information was stolen in the data breach at the Department of Revenue. But Juliana Harris with Consumer Affairs says it's hard to say for certain.
It would be difficult, and I don't know that we would ever be able to say definitively, yes, that was because of the Department of Revenue breach.
Consumer Affairs says if you believe you've been a victim of identity theft, there are steps to protect yourself. First, contact your bank and place a hold on the account in question. You can also place a fraud account on your credit report or even place a security freeze on your credit report.
It is very, very frustrating with me.
While no money was taken from her account, Roach remains skeptical of the system and her future financial security as a retiree.
I'm just about at my wit's end is what's happened to me, because I don't know how far this is going to go with me. You know, since they have my Social Security number, I don't know what's going to happen.
Now, she was told that someone had used the Social Security Administration's automated phone service to make the changes. Since then, Roach has then placed a block on her file so only she can alter her account information in person.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more people like her come forward.
Absolutely. And
Are they suggesting that everybody do that now, go through the process of blocking it so that no one can change it by phone?
That's one of the things that will secure you, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, but one of the main things is just to go ahead and sign up for the Experian credit protection. That's the #1 thing they're recommending for everyone to do.
The state's Inspector General has released an interim report assessing the data security in our state's agencies.
That report is calling for a new statewide information security program, citing the current one is not acceptable. News 19's Nate Stewart was first to obtain a copy of this report. He has the latest from the Information Center tonight. Nate?
Yeah, that's right, JR. The Inspector General's report says the state has not fixed responsibility, accountability, and authority for statewide data security. The 18-page document cites new recommendations that one state lawmaker says he agrees with. The Inspector General's report released Tuesday paints a picture of South Carolina's state agencies grossly underprotected when it comes to their data. The report interviewed 18 agency chief information officers. Agency heads rated their own security just marginally below adequate. Their assessment of security across the state was clearly even lower. The report cites cutting the IT departments of many state agencies in recent years as a possible downfall of state data security, often splitting duties among multiple staff members. However, the report does publish recommendations for the state to fix the issues. The first, by creating a new Chief Information Security Officer position, then adding a committee to provide oversight of the development, and then identifying the use of a consultant to assist with the security process.
Our standards need to be much higher.
Senator Kevin Bryant, appointed to the subcommittee to investigate the breach at the South Carolina Department of Revenue, agrees with the report, telling News 19 South Carolina needs to become the most protected state in the country.
Government typically does not prevent problems from happening. We wait until something happens and then try to fix it. And we can't afford to do that in this situation.
Last week, the subcommittee said answers given by the South Carolina Department of Revenue Director Jim Etter and state security experts created even more questions in their investigation. With the release of the Inspector General's report, Bryant expects more of the same.
I need to know more information on what happened. And our next question is, what are we going to do to respond?
And tomorrow at 10 a.m., the subcommittee will hold another hearing looking into investigating the breach at the South Carolina Department of Revenue. Senator Bryant tells me they will meticulously review the Inspector General's report, which was released today. Of course, we do have that full report, all 18 pages, on our website.
Governor Haley announced today Jim Etter, the director of the State Revenue Department, has stepped down after his agency failed to protect valuable taxpayer information that was stolen by an international hacker.
Now, even though he is stepping down, he's going to stay on the job until the end of the year. That's when Bill Bloom will take over as interim director. We have also learned tonight the exact number of people in our state affected in the Department of Revenue security breach.
Haley says 3.8 million tax filers were compromised, including 1.9 million dependents, 3.7 million bank accounts, almost 700,000 business profiles, and 5,000 credit cards that were all expired. News 19's Nate Stewart was at the State House News Conference. He has been following the story since he broke it for you last month. Nate, what's going on today?
Well, JR, Governor Haley says that the state should have done more to protect taxpayers' data at the South Carolina Department of Revenue. Today, we learned that those who filed taxes electronically were only the ones affected in the breach. Governor Haley says that the state knows the specific people who are affected and will be mailing out letters soon. Now, the report that was released today confirms the breach was successful through a phishing email that was opened by a South Carolina Department of Revenue employee. Now, that report, which you can find on our website, WLTX.com, describes in detail the extent in which the attacker gained access to the databases. Today, Governor Haley said that the state should have done more to protect taxpayers.
Did we have a chance to do a better job? And we did. There were two vulnerabilities that we found. One was that we had that there was no dual verification to get into the system. The second one was that the encryption of the Social Security data wasn't there. And so I think when you combine the fact that we had 1970 equipment, combined with the fact that we were IRS compliant, was a cocktail for an attack.
Now, the governor has sent this letter to the IRS asking them to require all states to have stronger security measures for handling federal tax information. The governor says she is meeting with the congressional delegation at the end of this month and will tell them all they need to be on cyber alert. Now, as for what is being done here in this state, we've learned that Social Security numbers at the Department of Revenue are currently being encrypted. The state also told us last week that they have purchased a piece of equipment that will begin monitoring state agencies 24 hours a day to prevent this type of thing from happening again. Of course, if you want to sign up for credit protection, the state is urging you to go to the website Experian. All that information can be found on our website on WLTX.com. In the Information Center, Nate Stewart, News 19, WLTX.
Nate, thank you. The State Revenue Department also provided a timeline today of the events surrounding the hacking. They say it began August 13th with a phishing email sent to several DOR employees. At least one user clicked the link in it, and malware likely stole their username and password. On August 27th, the hacker logged into a remote access service using those credentials on several occasions from the 29th of September through from the 29th of August through September 11th. The attacker interacted with DOR servers and systems. From September 12th through the 14th, the hacker copied database backup files and began moving them to another server and sent the data over the internet. The DOR removed the hacker's access on October 19th and 20th, and they say no malicious activity has been discovered since. It has been 3 weeks since News 19 first told you that more than 3 million Social Security numbers were stolen by an international hacker at the Department of Revenue.
Well, today the governor released some new information about security measures being put into place. Nate Stewart's been following the story since he broke it about a little more than 3 weeks ago.
That's right, JR. Today, the governor issued an executive order to require state agencies to comply with the Division of State Information Technology. That will include 24/7 monitoring. DSET staff and 6 agency employees will do the monitoring. The governor also said that the state will be getting a computer system that will monitor the networks and will shut them down if files are downloaded. Now, the cost of that computer is around $160,000 and will be paid for by Homeland Security.
What I have learned is these international hackers are not going to do this from 9 to 5. They are going to do this in the hours when nobody's in the office. We need somebody in the office 24 hours a day monitoring those computers to make sure that the second they see an intrusion, they can stop it.
Now, we've been on your side asking questions about the security company who's been working with the state since 2005. The company TrustWave was hired to protect your data. Now, on November 5th, under the Freedom of Information Act, News 19 requested the Department of Revenue give us the contracts between them, Experian, and TrustWave. Today, we were given both of those contracts from the Department of Revenue. We learned that last week the department said that they spent $231,000 over the last 5 years on security from this company, TrustWave. The contract that runs through 2016 specifies that TrustWave's main focus is to protect credit card data at the Department of Revenue. They did this by 24-hour monitoring and a once-a-month vulnerability scan. The contract states one of the main objectives of hiring TrustWave was to make sure the Department of Revenue was PCI compliant. That is a standard for companies who want to accept credit cards online. The second contract we received today was from Experian, the company the state has hired to monitor your credit since the breach. That contract is for a flat fee of $12 million. It does confirm that family secure services are offered to protect the defendants on your tax forms. It also notes that the state has paid a fee of 20 cents per call to an Experian call center that is worked into that flat rate. Now, we are continuing to sift through this contract. JR, as you can see, this contract is pretty thick right here. I've got it here, but we're continuing to look through it and speak with the Department of Revenue about this. Now, what we've learned is that the TrustWave contract to protect your credit card numbers, they hired them to do that and to get them to this PCI standard, and then they used their own in-house systems to monitor those Social Security numbers that were also hacked.
Right, but do we know yet what protections they had in place to secure the Social Security numbers?
Right, well, we know that they weren't encrypted at the time, but during the time of the breach, we've learned that the Department of Revenue did have 2 firewalls, regular virus scanning on all desktop and laptop machines, web filtering, and spam filtering. They were also receiving some protection through the state's DSET data monitoring system. So still a lot of details to be hashed out from this hacking story that we've been telling you about for nearly 3 weeks now.
Now, during the press conference, she talked a lot about DSET, and honestly, that's the first time I'd ever heard of it.
Right, that is the state monitoring system that monitors some of the cabinet agencies here in South Carolina. However, they were not asked to monitor the Social Security numbers at the Department of Revenue because they could not offer this PCI compliance that this company TrustWave could.